Hey there, Tiffany Thomas with wealthytiffany.com, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about roommates, where to find them, if they should have a contract, how they should pay you, all different things about taking care of roommates. And if you guys are ready for financial freedom right now, comment freedom below in the comments. And if you are serious about becoming financially free at a young age, click the link below this video in the description and I can help you do that. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, so let's dive in and talk about roommates or a renter in general. I'm just going to give you a quick overview on how I run the process of finding a roommate, and then I'm going to go into more detail about each of those aspects. So the basic overview is when I am looking for a new roommate, I post it online with all of the information. And then once I have someone message me either through Facebook Messenger or a text message, then I respond to them. I either answer their questions if they have asked questions, and then I will say at the end of the message, do you want to schedule a time to come see it? So that there's a question there, and then they can say, oh, I have more questions, or yes, I want to come see it. And that way it's not just me answering the questions and then it's just dead, right? I'm asking, hey, do you want to come see the place? So they have to respond. And then we can get the ball rolling and they can come see it. And if they like it, then they can move in. And yeah, as far as when to come, most people have a 9-to-5 job. So if they don't give me a preference on when they would like to come see it, then I just say, hey, would you like to come see it tomorrow at 5:30? I usually just, do after 5, and then they can say that works great, or I work nights, could we do it during the day, something like that. But I just like to give a specific time so that we're not going back and forth a bunch of times. It's, do you want to see it? Yes. Okay, how about this time? Or I'll even give, 2 different days or something, I'll say, how about Tuesday at 5:30 or Wednesday at 7 or something like that. And then they can respond back and say, yes, Wednesday at 7 works great. And then when they come, I just, I welcome them in. Sometimes I'll shake their hand and, make sure and have direct eye contact and kind of just, get a feel for the person and make sure that I want to live with them, right? I don't want to live with someone that I feel uncomfortable around. But I just welcome them in. I make sure the lights are on. And I just, I show them the living room and the kitchen area, the bathroom, and then the bedrooms are upstairs. And so I'll just walk them upstairs and show them the bedroom and the laundry, bathroom, whatever. But it's just a very casual walkthrough. And as I'm walking through and showing them the place, I kind of just ask them a few questions to get to know them a little better. Like, where are you working now? Make sure they have a job. They're going to be able to pay rent. And if they've lived with roommates before, just general questions to get to know them a little bit better and get a feel for how they are. And then, they'll either ask more questions, so I'll answer their questions for them, of course. And then when they're leaving, I'll say depending on the vibe, you can kind of get a certain vibe from people. Some people really love the place, or other people you can tell they're not really interested. And so I'll just say, something like, well, if you have more questions, let me know. Send me a text message or a Facebook message, however they originally contacted me, so that they know they can totally do that. They can totally send me another question if they have it, and they won't feel uncomfortable doing that. And then with some people that seem, more excited about it, then I'll say, well, please let me know either way if you're going to move in or not, just so that they know that I would love to have them move in if they wanted to. But it's, a very, very simple, casual process. And, I thank them for coming. And, I'm nice to everyone that shows up. I know people talk, and I'm going to go into detail about this in a minute, but there's a Facebook group that I post all of my properties in. So I know girls are talking in there, and if they're saying, oh, I went to that one girl's house and she was so mean, like, you don't want to live with her, I don't want any of that happening, right? So I'm nice to everybody and make everyone feel welcome. just so that there's no negativity going on, and I'm able to rent my places easier, you know. And even if someone didn't want to move in, they could at least say, oh, she was so nice and friendly and answered all my questions. You should definitely check out her place. It wasn't going to work for me, but it could work for you. So yeah, I just, keep it very open and friendly, just because I know people talk, and lots of people know lots of people, especially in the area that I'm in. Lots of people talk to lots of people. So that's kind of just a quick overview on the process of, you know, showing my place. And then once someone decides to rent my place, then I just say, okay, here is a link to a background and credit check. Fill that out. It just takes a few minutes. And I actually do that through cozy.co is the website. And once they fill that out, then I get an email immediately, and I can see their background check and their credit check. And if it looks good, then, you know, I just reply back and say, great, let's set up a time to sign the contract, and you can send me the deposit via Venmo or Cash App. And then we go from there. And once they send me the deposit, then I take down the listing. So I don't take down the listing beforehand, before I have that deposit, just because I don't want to have to repost that in case they do change their mind. I did have one girl change her mind, and so yeah, I don't do that until I have the deposit. Okay, so let me go into more detail on these steps. As far as having a contract, I always have a contract for my roommates, and of course for all of my renters for my other properties. But it just keeps things safe for you and for your roommate. There's no question about when the lease is going to be up, how much rent is, when rent is due, when the late fee is, how much the late fee is. There's no question. You've signed a contract, and it protects you and it protects them. So it's a win-win for both of you. And as far as contracts go, I have made my contracts stricter more recently. I was a little more lax before and started having a problem with one of my tenants. It wasn't a roommate, but a tenant. And so I decided to make my contract a little bit stricter and just be really upfront, like, you pay me on time or there's a late fee. And so the way it's set up now, it's due on the 1st of the month. If it's paid after the 1st, there's a 10% late fee, and then it's $10 every day after that. So it's pretty strict, and it just says, look, I want you to pay on time. That's that. So it depends. I mean, it depends on you. Maybe you don't care about being so strict, and it's okay if there's a 5-day grace period. A lot of contracts have that. My old one had a 5-day grace period. But yeah, I just feel more comfortable this way. And when I interview, or when I, have the potential roommate come in, we review the lease together. I don't just give it to them and say, here, read over this. We go over it together, and I point out some of the really important things. So, I'll say, okay, here's rent, the rent amount, here's when it's due, and here's the late fee. And especially since I'm doing a month-to-month, I also like to point out, this is in my contract, that the lease actually can only end on the last day of the month. So they need to give me at least 30 days notice at the beginning of the month. So for example, if they told me on the 15th of the month that they're moving out, then they would actually be required to pay the next month's rent in full. Just because it's usually easier to find renters or roommates at the beginning of a month. Most contracts end on the last day of the month, so they want to move in on the 1st. And if your roommate is giving you notice in the middle of the month, 30-day notice, and then, they just think it's 30 days from the middle of the month, then you may not be able to find a renter as easily to move in the middle of the month. So that's another thing I have in my contract, that it only ends at the end of the month. Hopefully that makes sense. But I just really like that, because most contracts do end at the end of the month, so it's easier to find someone to move in at the beginning of the month. And I'm pretty lax with my roommates, so if I was to find someone for the middle of the month or at the beginning of the next month that they would be in charge of paying, even if they weren't living here, and if I found someone to move in, then I wouldn't make them pay the next month. So it's not that I'm being so strict about it. If I do find someone and that is covered, that month is covered, then I'm not going to make them pay the full month. So entirely up to you. The contract says, they're in charge of paying that full month, so you can definitely have them pay it and have someone else move in and have that extra cash. Entirely up to you. But I'm a little lax in that. So it's your preference, and you're running the show, so you can run it how you want to. This is just how I've been doing it, and I feel good about it. So I'm just going to keep doing it that way, and things have been fine. So, okay. And then as far as utilities go, I do have my roommates and my tenants pay utilities. They pay for internet, for gas, and power. And I just split them evenly based on occupancy, which makes it really nice because then they're a little more conscious of, if they have the air conditioner turned on lower or the heat turned up higher, they're paying for it. So it's kind of incentivizing them not to have it so hot or so cold, because they are paying that. So, and I just say it's based on occupancy. So for example, if I had one room that was empty, then it would just be split between 3 of us instead of 4 of us. And that's in the contract. So they're still expected to pay that. And for my other tenants, my other properties that I don't live in, I have them pay the utilities as well. I just don't want to have to pay their utilities because I feel like they're a little more lax when they aren't paying the utilities, and they'll, turn up the heat really high or the air conditioner really high. So I like to do that. I like to have them pay the utilities. And then as far as how they pay me, I have now switched over to have them using the Cash App or Venmo. So it's really easy for them to pay me. I don't do checks anymore. I had one tenant that I had her paying me by check. That was her preference. And so I would have to go to the bank and cash the check or do the online deposit. But anyway, I don't do that anymore. It's just strictly the Cash App or Venmo, or PayPal actually. And I would recommend when you're starting out, just streamline all of this. Just choose one and tell them this is how you're going to pay me. Have them download the certain app or sign up for PayPal, however you want to do it. So they're not getting money from everywhere. It's kind of where I have a whole bunch of different properties. I'm kind of getting money from, different places, and I should have just streamlined it all in the beginning. So that's one thing that I want to share with you. Just streamline it in the beginning, make it easier for you so that you can manage it a lot easier. And I did sign up for cozy.co, and it's a website, it's a free website where your renters can pay you rent through the website, and you can upload your documents so you can have the contract in there and a checklist form in there, and it really streamlines everything for you if you're using just that website and having everyone pay you through there, and that's where all of your documents are kept. It's a lot easier to do taxes. I have not streamlined that. I had a couple people using that website, but I've just kind of switched back over to using Venmo or the Cash App. But there is that website, so I wanted to tell you about that, and it will probably make your life a lot easier. So I would recommend it, even though that's not what I'm using. But there's so many different ways you can do this. So I'm just sharing what's worked for me and, what can work better for you. So take your pick. You're running the show. You do it how you want to do it. And also, when I am having a roommate move in, I now do a background and credit check. I didn't always do that. If I knew the person from before, I may have skipped that. But it's always better to do a background and credit check. You feel more comfortable and you can see what their credit score is, how they have been on their payments, if they actually make payments on time, or if they're constantly late, or if they've had an eviction, or if they've filed bankruptcy. So it's just nice to know, having that background and credit check, this person is who they say they are, and they're able to pay rent on time. And I don't rent to those with below a 600 credit score anymore. I did one before, and the payments were constantly late. This was one of my tenants. It wasn't a roommate. But yeah, I would recommend not going below a 600 on a credit score. You want them to pay you rent, and you want it to be on time. So that's one thing to make sure and take into consideration, what their history has been for payments, and and just making sure, their background check is clean. It's always reassuring, especially when you're living with a person. And let's see. So, and as far as living with roommates, I'm pretty relaxed. I know people do a daily cleaning schedule or a weekly cleaning schedule, and they'll put it on the fridge, and everyone's in charge of different things every week. I don't have that. I just say, when the girl moves in, hey, so-and-so that just moved out, she was in charge of cleaning the kitchen. Do you want to just take over? And everyone has said yes so far. I haven't had anyone say no. So I kind of just break up the cleaning by certain things. So like the kitchen, and then someone else vacuums and dusts, and then someone else cleans the guest bathroom, and it's worked out fine. Like sometimes they may not clean the kitchen or something, so I'll go ahead and clean it. Like, it's not a big deal to me. I'm a pretty clean person, so when they move in, they can see that it's already clean, and that way, for the most part, they keep things clean anyway. So it's worked out fine for me to do it that way. And then with laundry, since I do have a total of 4 girls in my place, we now have a laundry day. So we just picked a day of the week that we wanted to do laundry, and then there's 3 days that are free, so anyone can do laundry on that day. And that's kind of nice, just since you have a set day, you'll do laundry on that day. And if someone needs to switch, no big deal, you just switch. I'm not trying to make it difficult to live with me or with roommates. I try to make it as easy as possible and as comfortable as possible, because you're seeing these people all the time, you're living with them, so you want things to be friendly and nice, and when you're that way, then they tend to be that way. So you can set things up how you want to, but being flexible and open is important, because like I said, when you're that way, then most likely they're going to be that way as well. And if things aren't working out, if you have that month-to-month contract, then just let them know, you know what, I'm having a friend move in, or I'm not going to rent this room anymore, or whatever, and you can have them leave if you need to. Luckily, I haven't had to do that. Like, I've been very fortunate to find really good roommates. And, if you kind of just put out that vibe of who you really are, like, then you kind of attract those people, I feel like. So I'm a very clean person, and when people come to look at the place, it's very clean. They can see that. And if that's, something they're not going to be okay with, or they know that they may feel uncomfortable or something, then they're probably not going to move in. Because, yeah, like most of the roommates, well, all of the roommates have been clean. There's been some that have been a lot cleaner. and then some that are a little more lax, but for the most part, everyone has been clean. And I think that's just in part because that's how I have my house set up already. So that's kind of what's expected. You know, when I show it, this is how it is. So they know that. And then as far as having them pay utilities, I should have mentioned this before, but I just send out a text when I get all of the utility bills, and I just divide it equally and say, hey, this is your share of utilities, and then they can either pay it when they get the text message, or they can pay it with rent that's due on the 1st of the month. So utilities usually come in a few days before, like around the 25th or something like that. So I just send the text when I get the utilities, and then they can either pay me then, or they can pay me with rent. And I put that in the contract so that they know when utilities are due. But I'm not a stickler on you have to pay me as soon as I send the text message. I just say, you know, you can do that if you want to, or if it's easier for you to just pay it with rent, then just pay it with rent. And then, so they are a month behind on utilities, right? Because they get the utility bills for the month before. So what has been used already. So when they move out, then I just deduct the utilities for that previous month that they were there from their security deposit, and then I send them the remaining amount for their security deposit. So that's how I work utilities. So these are just a few things on how I handle getting roommates, and when I have the roommates, and you know, how I set up the payments and things like that. Hopefully this helps you, you know, become a little familiar on how you could get a roommate and kind of the way to run things with a roommate. And if you guys have other questions about this topic, please post them below. I'd love to answer them for you. And if you have a completely different topic that you want me to talk about, or something you want me to dive into deeper, please comment below with what you would like to see, and I can create videos on that content. And this was a question that I had received, so I wanted to do this video and answer that question. I was really happy to do that. So please post below what content you guys would like to see, what's interesting to you, and I would love to do videos for you. And you guys, if you are really serious about becoming financially free at a young age, click the link below this video in the description and I can help you do that. And please like and share this video with someone else that wants to hear this information, that is looking to maybe get a roommate. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.